What's going on, everybody? I'm Zach, and you're watching the Command Dudes. After last week's episode, I got a little feedback, and apparently wasn't professional enough. So today, going all out, trying to make this a real banger of a review episode. So we're talking about new CAPENNA. This is part 4 of our reviews. Whole bunch of legendary creatures came out since last time, so we're gonna go all over those, and then we'll talk about some other cool cards that I've seen that also came out. I've been playing a lot more standard lately, kind of pretty hyped for this new set to come out to start playing standard again. And a lot of these creatures have been catching my eye, so those will be the things at the end of the video if that's maybe something you're interested in. All right, without any further ado, let's check out these legendaries. Legendaries. All right, so the first one we're going to talk about, not going in any particular order, just the ones I was kind of scrolling through and saw them, and I was like, whoa, we got to talk about it. First one, Giada, Font of Hope. This thing is nuts. Giada, Font of Hope is 1 and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature, Angel. It's got flying, vigilance, and its effect is bonkers. Each other angel you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it for each angel you already control. Insanity. These angels, which are already normally big creatures, are gonna be freaking huge. Top of that, it is a mana dork for these big creatures. It is wild. It is crazy. It's pretty straight laced, it's gonna do this thing that it does each time. There's not a lot of complexity to it, but that's kind of, name of the game with angels. Most of them don't have that kind of complex kind of battle strategy going for them. They're just big flyers with vigilance and lifelink sometimes. They get bigger. So this kind of just helps them do that even better. So I definitely see this being, if not the best mono white angel commander, a 100% staple in any angel deck from here on out. Is OP. Next legendary creature we're going to be talking about is Legrella the Magpie. First time I read this card, literally my mind split in half, had no idea what was going on. A little further research online, and here's what the effect actually says. Legrella the Magpie, green, white, blue for a 2/3 legendary creature, human soldier. When Legrella the Magpie enters the battlefield, exile any number of other target creatures controlled by different players until Legrella leaves the battlefield. When an exile card enters the battlefield under your control this way, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. Now, when you read this card at first, you think, wow, this gets rid of every single creature on the battlefield. And then when mine come back, I get +1/+1s. Sweet. For some reason, despite it looking like it should do that, I guess the rules on it are you get 1 creature from each player. So you got 100 players you're playing against, you get 100 targets, 1 from each of them, etc., etc. It's not the powerhouse that I thought it was, although it would have been absolutely broken if it was how it reads. But this, you can do some pretty interesting things. It gives a lot of blink effects for your creatures, and it lets you kind of get over those hurdles that you might not have been able to without these kind of +1/+1 counters. So get rid of your opponent's threats. Your like weak kind of strong card goes away, comes back, it's another ETB, it's even stronger. Maybe now it's bigger than theirs can block, it can get through their line, what have you. A lot of versatility to do it. Kind of weird though, so it's not on the top of my radar, but it's there. Naya got a pretty sweet commander with this one. It is Rocco Cabaretti Caretaker. Caterer. Cabaretti Caretaker. Oh, caterer. Caterer. Rocco the Cabaretti Caretaker. Naya got a pretty sweet new legend this time with a Rocco Cabaretti Caterer. You have no idea how hard it was to say that. Rocco Cabaretti Caterer is X red green white legendary creature, elf druid 3/1. When Rocco ETB is, if you cast it, you may search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. This is a combo machine no matter how you look at it. This guy is tutoring out something to win. You're getting your Dockside to pop off. You're getting your Craterhoof Behemoth to pop off. This is a game ender commander, It's not necessarily supposed to be played early on. You kind of just wait and keep it in your command zone until you need to combo off and win. Searching out your Kiki Jiki. You're searching out your, the green card that untaps things with Kiki Jiki and those other cards that make all those infinites possible. This is, it's... Whether you want to run it as your commander or not, it's a really good Naya creature and will probably be a staple from here on out, is what I'm thinking. Now, this next legend, pretty sick. Mr. Oreo, the Boulder, Orfeo, whatever you want to call him. You know, Judd, he's going big. He's making other things big. This guy's pretty sweet. Mr. Orfeo, the Boulder. 1 black, red, green for a 2/4 legendary creature Rhino Warrior. This guy's pretty dope. I mean, whenever you tank, you double target creature's power until end turn. That's pretty lit skis, if you ask me. Now, as a commander, it's whatever, you know. There's some other commanders that do this kind of effect better and give those creatures haste and whatnot. But as a support card for a new like Zeatora or something that attacks get massive. Maybe it's a Fido Titan, which is my Zeatora, sneaky pick for the deck. And you start flinging that thing. So you get your Fido Titan, becomes a 14, whatever, 4. And then boom, you fling 14 damage at somebody. So pretty sweet supporter card. Maybe not the best commander. Going along the lines of Judd legendaries, this next one is pretty crazy. Agnus the Dragon's Lash. This guy, you know, it's not as splashy or as flavorful as some other commanders, but it's got a pretty useful effect, and it's I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a strong one. Agnus the Dragon's Lash for 1 hybrid red-black, red hybrid red-green. It's a 3/3 legendary creature, Vishano Warrior. You know we love the Vishano here. They're sick. The lizard dudes are badass. Anyways, it's got haste. Whenever a creature you control with haste attacks, create a tapped treasure token. All right, we got haste tribal commander. You know, you got your Vorinclexes in there. You got your Vorinclexes in there. Things like that. You know, you kind of just want these like big beaters going in, making you treasures. But you also, you kind of want the low CMC guys too. You know, there's a lot of just random kind of dudes. There's like I want to say from Zendikar, there's a haste goblin that makes constructs that ping people. All these weird cards can be like taken advantage of in this deck because you're going to be building up all these treasures, be able to do a whole bunch of crazy things with them. You know, these colors have a lot of splashy spells and creatures that, making all this more mana just leads to getting those things out faster. So I see this guy pretty cool. The bummer is that the treasures do come in tap. So, it is what it is, but overall, pretty strong. Now, Rico, the Streetwise Mentor, he's bringing something cool, pretty unique. I've only seen effects like this in Mono Red before, so I'm pretty excited to see what this guy can do, and let's bring up the card and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Rico, Streetwise Mentor, hybrid green-white, hybrid white-blue, legendary creature, cat citizen, 2/2. I'm kind of sick of all these cat legendaries. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of bringing me down. But anyways, let's hop into this guy's effect. Rico, Streetwise Mentor, enters the battlefield with a shield counter on it. And if you guys don't know, shield counters, whenever the creature would be dealt damage, even 1 damage, or be destroyed, you remove the counter instead. Then he says, whenever you attack a player or planeswalker with 1 or more creatures with 1 power or less, draw a card. Now, I don't know how you're going to play this deck. This guy seems wild. He seems like the jank lord rising from the streets. He is using all these low-powered creatures. There's a tons of white 1/1s, I feel like, that have like double strike and things like that. You're going to be using all these weirdo cards, and you're going to be getting in and having them somehow become unblockable. I know this set has a lot of fish that are unblockable for whatever reason. These people just can't, catch fish at all. But when they're cats, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But this kind of guy, he offers a really cool building space that not many of the commanders from the set have offered thus far. So this guy, I'm pretty excited to watch people play him. Although I probably wouldn't play him because you'd have to have a really big brain to build a good deck around this guy. This just in, Denry Quinn, Editor-in-Chief. Crazy, weird, white and blue Audric coming to you guys. Let's go in for a little bit of deep dive on this guy, see if it's really worth it. Denry Quinn, Editor-in-Chief, 2 white, blue, legendary creature, cat advisor, 2/2. This guy, pretty wonky, not gonna lie. So he says, Denry Quinn, Editor-in-Chief, enters the battlefield with your choice of a +1/+1 counter, first strike counter, or vigilance counter on it. Whenever a non-token creature you control enters the battlefield, if Denry has counters on it, put the same number and kind of counters on that creature. This is a pretty freaking cool deck. Um, is it gonna be super strong? Probably not. Is it gonna do really cool things that people are gonna go, "Whoa!" Probably. This guy, it is a very off color kind of deck. It feels like a mono white deck, if I'm gonna be honest. But the blue adds a lot of synergies that you couldn't have otherwise. You can start blinking things. You can start getting these kind of different counters on it to disperse them throughout your combats or whenever all these creatures are entering the battlefield. A whole bunch of ways that you can like kind of manipulate this creature and the counters using blue that you couldn't via just white. So I think it does offer a lot of cool tools that this kind of theme needs, I guess. That being said, it's another cat, so we're just gonna move on past this guy. Yep. That was the last of all the legendaries that I've seen that came out since the last video I made. Now, there might have been a couple other ones that I didn't talk about, and that's just because they didn't really pique my interest. These ones all are pretty cool. They all have like kind of things that they can do, pretty unique, and I think a lot of people are gonna be interested in those ones. So that's like why I talked about them. Besides that, let's talk about these other cards that are from the new set that I think are pretty sweet and will be played in maybe other formats besides Commander. Starting off with a Workshop Warchief. This guy is pretty nuts. For 3 mana, 2 green, you get a 5/3 Rhino Warrior creature named the Workshop Warchief. It's got Trample. When Workshop Warchief enters the battlefield, you gain 3 life. That's pretty rad. And then when he dies, you create a 4/4 green Rhino creature token. Basically replaces itself. Basically just as good as stats. It's kind of same stat split. Both have 8 points into both stats. Blitz, 4 and 2 green. So they would have haste. It would draw you a card when it dies. Okay, let's just, there's a lot of cards in standard right now that have to deal with sacrificing and all this kind of jazz to draw cards. With these new Jund kind of cards coming out, there is a real big benefit to sacrificing your creatures. There's things that fling creatures. There's things that double the power of creatures and what have you. This can be a humongous creature in standard, but just having a 5-power creature in standard can be pretty freaking big sometimes. So, and it makes a replacement for itself. I feel like this guy, with its ability to gain you life, can go either an aggressive decks. It can go on maybe control decks if you're able to keep on blinking it, or you're able to recur it if it dies and come in and bring it back again. Bunch of ways that this guy can possibly be broken, and I'm excited to see what people do with it in the future. In the first kind of review of this set, we had the Ascendancy. I think it was the Bant one. Now we got a couple of the other ones, and they're all pretty sweet, so I want to just touch on them a little bit. The Cabaretti Ascendancy and the Riveteer's Ascendancy. Cabaretti Ascendancy, for the 9 mana, it's a red, green, white. You get an enchantment. Beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature or planeswalker, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. If you don't put the card in your hand, you may put it on the bottom of your library. I don't know why Naya gets a busted Herald's Horn, but they do. It's just what they get now. You don't have to pick a creature type. You kind of just get the gas no matter what you do. You're running 5 color in Commander? Fuck it, run this card. It's going to be good in your deck. You're going to be getting extra card draw. You're going to be putting things on the bottom of your library if you don't need it. It's just all around, the gas. It's kind of what you want out of a value piece in your decks. And on my mind, a lot of people don't run as much enchantment destruction as they should. So this is probably going to get you a ton and a ton of value. Highly recommend this card. Anybody running Naya, slap it in. Anybody playing more than Naya colors, slap it in. You're going to probably want to use it. So, really good card. 10 out of 10 in my book. Riveteer's Ascendancy, the Jund Ascendancy. For black, red, green, you get an enchantment that reads, whenever you sacrifice a creature, you may return target creature card with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Do this only once each turn. Now, this is kind of like Aura, the Skyclave Hierophant. I don't know how you say that word, or if that's its right name. But, when your things are dying, you're just getting the value back, which is the rough thing, especially in standard, when you're sacrificing your stuff, because you're usually not getting like the 1-for-1. You're kind of 2-for-1ing yourself. You get rid of 2 things, card in your hand and the thing on your field to get some effect. This kind of mitigates that kind of inherent weakness that comes along with sacrifice decks, and it's kind of pretty busted, especially in standard. I mean, you're going to be getting that one thing back each turn, which is a lot more impactful than it is in EDH, where you could do like crazy combos and stuff, where you would want it to be able to be more than each turn. But this kind of gives you like the ability to like maybe build your deck around sacrificing on each player's kind of turn, doing weird things like that to where your sacrifice deck is more interactive than maybe it is currently. So I think this is a cool card. It is in the building space of cards that I really enjoy playing with, and I think this is just a really cool card. I'm gonna say run a sacrifice deck and Jund, probably like a 7 out of 10 kind of card. Probably want to run. This next card I think will be pretty impactful in the next standard kind of rotation. It has a really good effect. It's also really good in EDH too. These effects have been abused for as long as time has existed. But yeah, we're talking about the Witty Roastmaster. All right, who's ready to get roasted by this witty dude? I don't know what I'm saying, but for 2 and a red, you get a 3/2 Devil Citizen creature with Alliance, which is an absolutely broken mechanic in my opinion. All right, Alliance. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Witty Roastmaster deals 1 damage to each opponent. Now, all of these cards we've been kind of seeing in the Naya category, they're all about making tokens and creatures and going wide. This guy is in those colors. He's going to kick butt. Right now, there is a pretty strong Rakdos deck that revolves around sacrificing artifacts to make constructs each turn to ping people for 1 damage, along with Meat Hook Massacre, which is 2 damage. Now, along with the Witty Roastmaster, that's 3 damage. That is a lot of damage to be doing each turn, especially in standard. And with the body of a 3/2, this guy is he's not only just dishing out the damage with his effect, he's hitting phase 2 sometimes. So this guy is something to be watched out for. I think it could make some crazy impacts in standard. Outside of that, it's just like an auto, including like Perforos or like Norin, the Weary, things like that. When you're having all these ETPs and burning, this is your guy. This next card, Gilded Pinions, is for the same reason as the other card before this. I think it'll be really good in standard. Maybe it'll be a niche pick. Maybe it's just me wanting to play it in the Rakdos deck. But I think it has a place there, and it would be a really cool inclusion in that. Gilded Pinions, 2 for an artifact equipment. You don't really got to care about the equipment part about this thing or its equipability. Give something flying. Cool, whatever. It is a artifact that makes a treasure when you ETB it. So you're 2 mana, you get in a treasure, you're rampant. Pretty gas. It's like the wily goblin, and if you're playing historic at all and you're playing goblins, you run that guy to rampant your muxes or whatever. This is going to be really good, I think, in the Rakdos artifact deck right now. You're going to be making treasures, which put counters on your red enchantment that you can use to sacrifice and deal massive amounts of damage to your opponent's face. Not only does it ETB put a counter on that, it makes a treasure which ETBs on that, which ramps you into all your other stuff. So this card, pretty freaking sweet in my opinion. A lot of gas. Any kind of artifact matters deck is going to be wanting this because it's basically 1 mana. Since it makes the treasure to play it, it's just pretty freaking sweet. This next one, Mage's Attendant. I am not of the mindset that white needs all these buffs. I don't want to see every card say white draw, white make creatures, white do counter spells like this one. It's just not needed. I want red to get these juicer cards. Like, let red get some cards that draw. Don't make us just play with like random cards that we might be able to use. Let me get some power. But Mage's Attendant does just that. It makes white now have access to blue. Pretty crazy. Mage's Attendant, 2 and a white, 3/2, creature cat rogue. Come on, the cats. When it enters the battlefield, you create a 1/1 blue wizard creature token with pay 1, sacrifice this creature, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. This card is stupid. I don't know why they said, let's make white have blue. Why not even make it a wizard cat? I mean, at least keep to the cat theme, right? But here we are. Now white has counter spells in blue. It's the same as it's always been, the kind of mana tide, you got to pay the extra 1 or it's countered. But it's still really strong. And then for 3 mana, you're getting 4/3 stats out of it. This card, pretty crazy. I mean, you're running it in like a controlled deck. Maybe you're blinking this thing and you're making a whole bunch of these stinking wizards. That doesn't sound very fun to play against. This thing is very abusable, and I'm not very excited to play against it. Probably also a house in like anything that you need the tokens for. This guy's cranking them. This next card seems like an EDH bomb. If you're running Spellslinger, you're running decks that have big splashy spells or like self-mill, probably gonna want to run this card because it can do absolutely insane things, especially the longer the game goes on. And I'm talking about Arcane Bombardment. Arcane Bombardment, 4 and 2 red enchantment. It's a mythic, so it might be a little expensive. Whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard, then copy each card exiled with Arcane Bombardment. You may cast any number of those copies without paying their mana cost. This is a wild card, everybody. Get your little pew, 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 your little hype horns out, because this thing is gonna be nutso. I don't know what people are playing in your guys' play groups. Our play groups, the decks that this makes me scared of is Riel. It could be like a Torolf deck where you're just getting all these board clears. Like, this is crazy sounding to me. And the longer it's out, the more and more value you get. All these crazy spells, you're getting your gambles, you're getting your board clears, you're getting all these chaos warps come back, and then each time you cast the instant sorcery is popping off. And if you're running like Spellslinger decks and stuff like that, where you're just searching and fueling your deck, it's crazy. We didn't talk about the forbidden method of abusing this card, which is Dragon's Approach. You know, you're going to be casting these. They're basically the only thing in your graveyard. You're going to be doubling up on these burn spells like no other. Yeah, they're getting exiled, but you're nuking everybody for 3 really fast. So I think this is like a cool, you got your big dragons out, cool, whatever. Now you're just burning people like no other. Sweet card. I love it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. That's the end of this week's new CAPENNA card review number 4. If you like it, make sure to let me know. I did a couple new things in this one, so I really hope you guys enjoy it. All the new graphics, stuff like that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun making it. So just let me know what you guys thought about it. If it did capture that more kind of professional YouTube look I was going for. And before I go, if there's any cards that I missed, anything you want to talk about, make sure to let me know down below, because I'm down to talk about it. Love Commander, love Standard, want to talk about all these cards, and I theory craft what we can all use them as the best in our decks. Now, I'm not really following the spoilers too close, so I don't know exactly the schedule of what's going on. I feel like there'll be probably like 1 or 2 more days of like total, like the set review kind of stuff coming out. And then there'll be the Commander deck coming out. So I'm gonna go over each one of those. There'll be a couple scales I'm gonna judge them on, like the value scale, and then the fun scale. So maybe right now they're not looking like the most fun decks, but the value I think is gonna be pretty high up there. And I think this kind of set is the Eldraine of this Standard, or to say the least, because I think that people were like, oh, there's machine guns and freaking magic now. I don't really want that. Oh wait, everything's a banger. So I think they're gonna put some really juicy cards in these Commander decks that we're not expecting. So that's my prediction, but we'll see if that's true. Anyways, till next time, guys, dude on.